We are here to talk about bad wine and what makes a wine bad. Now, MC Ice
Other
is here.
than when I buy it.
I was just going to say, MC Ice is here because he is an expert in this field, and I'm a little bit less of an expert.
I would say master.
You would?
Yeah.
Do you think that you could teach a course on it?
On how to buy bad wine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Just
if you guys
start
are
with
interested-
whatever one's has the biggest sale.
like the delta.
The
between-
biggest
right.
discount, yes.
So what prompted us to do this is that unfortunately lately we've been either sent really bad samples or we've picked some very bad wines. But I have to tell you, this batch, which I have covered up the labels to protect the person that sent them to me, this was a special batch of really, really terrible wine. We had a rosé that was, we tried to drink it, right? We poured 2 glasses and then we couldn't drink the rest.
I made some pretty good progress on it, as you can see, from putting a lot of ice in.
Oh, is that how you did
Yes,
it?
yes.
What made the rosé undrinkable? Let's talk about what makes a rosé undrinkable. First of all, no acidity. Very, very low acidity, which in a rosé you really can't have. That's like having a white wine with no acidity. Second of all, the flavors were very often, third of all, it was sweet. So I want to show you something that I have here, okay?
But it also tasted like stems.
It did. It was both overripe and not ripe at the same time. This is what I would call the structure of a wine. It's 4 sides to a structure. So we have sugar or lack of sugar, dryness. We have tannin. We have acidity, and we have alcohol. So right now, if we have a balanced wine, all of these things work really well. But if we decide that something is out of balance, all of a sudden it looks like this, okay? So if you can imagine that this was a picture and we had a canvas, even if it was the Mona Lisa, even if it was whatever your favorite artist, a Picasso, once it went from this to this, now we start to see the flaws, right? We start to see problems. That is why we stretch canvases like this. So if one thing is really out of whack, then we have problems. So in this case, there was no acidity. So we almost had this situation, right? So we didn't have that. But then we also had an issue where there was too much sugar. So now we have this situation. So we're having a wine that looks like this when it should be looking like this. Okay, so that is really, when you start to think about the structure of a wine, I want you to remember this demonstration. These are very cool because they can move. I wish I had a little canvas to show you, but I think you get the idea. The problem with the reds was the same exact thing. We had an issue where this was a Malbec and it was just clearly too hot where the grapes grew. The fruit flavor was totally off. So again, we
You
can
say
think
clearly too hot. How do you know?
I know where it grew.
Oh, okay.
It grew in a desert in the United States.
Ooh.
And, in this case, we could use this for a lot of things, but the alcohol was so high. So now we have the alcohol out of balance, right? The alcohol is now longer, essentially, than the rest of this, so it's sticking out, or it's totally off balance, throwing off everything else, right? So then we have low tannin in that wine also. So now we've got long alcohol and low tannin, so we have a situation like this. Anytime that you see one of the structural elements out of balance, then you have this. So all of these things are really important. The only time that I'm going to stray from this is that sometimes in food pairing, you want a little bit more acidity so it can pair with the food. Or you want a little bit more
acid
tannin.
with acid, right?
Yeah, acid with acid or acid with fat. You want some of that. So these wines were really terrible. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but I think that hopefully this demonstration kind of tells you what makes a bad wine. I'm not talking about flavor, I'm talking about things that are structurally wrong. And I think that, if you've got things that are structurally wrong and then the flavors suck, in that case, that's your tip of the week. Thanks, guys.